The night I kissed a stranger to make my ex jealous, I had no idea he was a mafia boss. The bar around me buzzed with soft jazz and low voices, but it all blurred when I saw him walk in. David, my ex-husband. His arm was locked around the waist of a girl who looked like she was barely old enough to drink. She laughed at something he said, tilting her head back like she had never known heartbreak in her life. My chest tightened. It had only been 3 months since the divorce, and somehow seeing him still felt like being punched in the stomach. I was not here for him. I was here because my friend had canceled. I was tired of feeling like a ghost in my own life, and this bar was the only place I could still almost afford a drink. I smoothed the skirt of my one good black dress. It was one of the few things I had left after the divorce. He kept the house. He kept the savings. I got the apartment in Queens, the used car, and what was left of my pride. The bartender slid a new martini in front of me. "I didn't order this," I said. He nodded toward the far corner of the bar, "From the gentleman over there." I followed his gaze. A man sat alone in the corner booth. Dark suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. He didn't look like he belonged to the weekend crowd that came here to show off. He was calm, relaxed, like the noise of the bar didn't touch him at all. His eyes were dark and steady as they met mine. He lifted his glass slightly, like a quiet hello. Heat rushed to my face. No one had looked at me like that in a long time. Then I heard it. David's loud laugh cut through the room. That laugh I knew too well, the one he used when he wanted attention, when he wanted people to turn and look at him. I turned my head and saw him scanning the bar, his eyes searching the room. Of course he was. This was his favorite game. He liked an audience. He wanted someone to see how happy he was. His gaze landed on me. His smile changed. There it was, that smug look. The one that said he felt sorry for me, and still somehow thought he was better than me. In that moment I could almost hear the story he would tell later. My ex-wife? Yeah, she was there, sitting alone at the bar in that same old dress. She looked pathetic. Something in me snapped. I picked up the martini, slid off my stool, and walked toward the man in the corner. I did not have a plan. I just knew I refused to be the sad ex-wife in David's story tonight. My legs shook, but I forced myself to move like I belonged there. The stranger watched me come closer. His face gave nothing away, but his eyes stayed on mine. I leaned down so he could hear me over the music. "I need a huge favor," I said in a low voice. "My ex just walked in, and I really don't want to be the lonely divorcee at the bar tonight." One corner of his mouth lifted, and a small dimple appeared in his right cheek. It softened his serious face in a way that surprised me. "What exactly did you have in mind?" he asked. His voice was deep, smooth, with a hint of an accent I could not place. "Just pretend you know me," I said quickly. "Laugh at something I say, act like we're together. 5 minutes. I just need to save what is left of my pride." What happened next was not in my plan. Before I could say anything else, he stood up in one easy movement. He was taller than I expected, close enough now that I could smell his cologne, warm and clean. He lifted his hand and gently cupped the side of my face. "Maybe this will be more convincing," he said. He gave me a moment to pull away. I didn't. His lips met mine. The kiss was not rough or rushed. It was slow, steady, sure of itself. His hand was warm against my cheek, grounding me while my heart raced. I hadn't kissed anyone since David, and this felt nothing like that. This wasn't familiar. This was new and sharp and dizzying, and for a second I forgot we were putting on a show. When he finally pulled back, my breath came in short bursts. His dark eyes watched my face with a glint of amusement and something else I could not name. Something darker. "Vincent," he said softly, his thumb brushing my lower lip like he owned the moment. "Lily," I managed to answer. My voice sounded thin and breathless to my own ears. I turned my head just enough to see David. He was staring at us. His date was saying something, but he was not listening. His jaw was tight. His eyes were cold. Vincent followed my gaze. I felt his body shift next to mine, his posture changing in a way I couldn't explain. The easy calm from before slipped away, replaced by a stillness that made the hairs on my arms stand up. "Your ex-husband seems upset," Vincent said. His hand slid to the small of my back like it belonged there. It was a simple touch, but it sent a clear message across the room. "I am with her." David's face turned red, part anger, part surprise. For a second I felt a rush of victory. Then I saw the familiar tightening in his jaw, the same look he used to get before the worst fights, before the broken glass, before his fist hit the wall inches from my head. "I should go," I whispered. A shiver ran through me that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Vincent's fingers pressed gently into my back. "Let me walk you out," he said. It sounded like a suggestion, but there was something firm behind it. He gave a small sign toward the bartender, who nodded like this was normal, like he knew Vincent well. Outside, the cool September air wrapped around me. A sleek black car waited at the curb. A man in a dark suit stepped forward and opened the door without being told. "I appreciate the rescue, but I can get home on my own," I said, taking a small step back. The kiss was more than enough. Vincent's eyes scanned the street behind me, calm but alert. "Your ex is arguing with the bouncer right now to follow us out," he said. "I'm offering you a safe ride home." My stomach dropped. In my mind I saw flashes of old fights, shattered glasses, his hands slamming into the wall. The way his anger could grow in seconds. Vincent held out his hand. "You're safe with me, Lily. I expect nothing from you. I just want to make sure you get home without trouble." I stared at his hand, at the open car door, at the bar behind us where David was no doubt still fuming. Then I placed my hand in Vincent's and slid into the car. I had no idea I had just stepped into a life I never imagined. The moment the car door closed, I felt the weight of what I had just done. I sat in the back seat beside a man whose kiss still burned on my lips, in a car driven by someone who didn't look like a normal driver. The dark suit, the earpiece, the sharp eyes watching every mirror. This was not an Uber. Vincent slid in beside me. The door shut with a soft click, and the car pulled away from the curb. I looked out the window, half expecting David to burst out of the bar, but all I saw was the city passing by in streaks of light. "You don't have to take me anywhere fancy," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just drop me near the Queensboro Bridge. I can walk the rest of the way." Vincent didn't answer right away. He studied my face with a calm intensity that made me shift in my seat. "Lily," he finally said, "your ex-husband is not finished for the night. Men like him don't walk away when their pride is hurt." My breath caught. He was right. I knew he was right. The driver turned down a quiet street, away from the path to Queens. My pulse jumped. "Where are we going?" I asked, gripping my purse a little tighter. Vincent looked down at my hand, then back at me. "I have a penthouse in Manhattan. You can stay there tonight. Just one night until we make sure your ex isn't following you home." My heart pounded. "Vincent, I don't even know you." His voice softened. "You know that I didn't let him follow you, and tonight, that's enough." I didn't answer. I looked back toward the street, watching buildings grow taller as we approached Midtown. The car stopped in front of a towering high-rise with a marble entrance and gold-trimmed doors. The doorman straightened the moment he saw Vincent. "Good evening, Mr. Moretti," he said with a respectful nod. "Moretti." The name echoed in my head. The driver opened my door. The doorman held the lobby door. Everyone moved with sharp precision, like they'd done this 1,000 times. For Vincent, not for me. Inside the lobby, security didn't ask for ID, didn't question anything. Their eyes flicked from Vincent to me and then away, like they'd been trained not to stare too long. "Is this normal for you?" I whispered as we stepped into a private elevator that required a fingerprint. "It's just home," he said. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. I stepped into a world that felt unreal. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire city glowing beneath us. Expensive art hung on the walls. The furniture looked like something out of a design magazine. Vincent took off his jacket and set it neatly on a chair. "You can use the guest room. There are clothes and toiletries inside, Make yourself comfortable." I stayed standing, my hands tense at my sides. "Vincent, be honest with me. Who are you really?" He looked at me for a long moment, and something in his expression shifted. Not dangerous, not threatening, just careful. "I manage several businesses," he said. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either. Before I could press further, he walked into the kitchen and poured a drink. "You're shaking," he said quietly. "Sit, breathe." I hated that he was right. I hated that my hands trembled because of David, because part of me expected him to show up, pounding on doors like he used to when he drank too much. Vincent handed me a glass of water. Not whiskey, not wine, just water. "Your ex-husband followed the car for 3 blocks, he said calmly. My driver confirmed it. My stomach twisted. He is angry, Lily. Angry men with bruised pride do stupid things. A memory flashed in my mind. David slamming his fist into the wall next to my head, the picture frame shattering, the look of satisfaction in his eyes when I flinched. I set the water glass down before my shaking hands dropped it. "I can't stay here. This is too much. I don't even know you." "You know enough to understand I won't hurt you," he said. He was right again, and that scared me more than anything. I felt safer with this stranger than I ever had with my ex-husband. "I'll sleep in the guest room," I said quietly. Vincent nodded. "If you need anything, I'll be in the room at the end of the hall. The door's locked from the inside." He walked away without another word, giving me space, giving me control. Something David never did. I showered, changed into the soft clothes waiting in the bathroom, and lay awake for hours staring at the ceiling. My mind raced with questions about Vincent, about David, about what my life had become. Sometime after 3 a.m., I finally drifted off. I woke to voices in the hallway. Low. Male. Serious. I stepped out quietly and saw Vincent speaking with 2 men in suits. One handed him a tablet. Vincent's jaw tightened as he studied the screen. He noticed me, and the tension in his face softened. "Lily, go back to sleep," he said gently, but there was something dark beneath his words. Something controlled. "What happened?" I whispered. He looked at me for a long moment before answering. "Your ex-husband spent half the night outside your apartment building," he said. "Now he's telling people he wants you back." My chest tightened painfully. "Why would he?" "Because men like him do not let go," Vincent said. "They only lose control." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You and your daughter need protection until he calms down." I froze. "My daughter?" "Yes." His eyes were steady on mine. "Emma, she's part of your life. That means she's part of this situation too." Fear rippled through me. Not fear of Vincent. Fear of what David might do. With a steady voice that did not match the panic in my chest, I whispered, "What are you saying?" Vincent held my gaze, his expression unreadable but somehow gentle. "I'm saying you're not safe right now," he replied, "and until you are, you stay with me." My pulse pounded in my ears. "For how long?" His answer was quiet. "Honest, as long as it takes." I should have refused. I should have walked away. But I felt something in that moment, a shift, a pull, a truth I wasn't ready to name. I didn't know yet that staying with him would change everything, not just for me, but for Emma, and for Vincent Moretti. I learned very quickly that being near Vincent Moretti meant stepping into a world I didn't understand. A world that did not move the way normal life moved. A world where one decision, one kiss, shifted everything in ways I never expected. The morning after I woke to men in suits in the hallway, Vincent had already arranged everything. My belongings were brought from my apartment. My laptop, Emma's favorite stuffed rabbit, even the framed drawing she made for me last Christmas. When I held the drawing in my hands, something in my chest tightened. "I didn't ask you to do this," I said quietly. "I know," Vincent replied, "but your ex-husband spent the night outside your building. You are safer here." It wasn't a request. It was a conclusion, and I didn't fight it. Not because Vincent scared me, but because David did. I called my mom to pick up Emma that morning. keeping my voice steady while pretending it was just for a weekend sleepover. I didn't want Emma anywhere near the tension building around me. By the afternoon, I was working remotely from the penthouse kitchen, trying to focus on graphic designs while Vincent moved through the apartment like a shadow. Calm, collected, powerful, and increasingly impossible to read. But every time he passed me, every time his hand brushed the counter near mine, I felt the air shift. At dinner, Vincent cooked. Not a chef, not staff. Vincent. He moved with a confidence that didn't match the violence I imagined in men who held that kind of respect from others. "You cook?" I asked. Surprised, he glanced at me with a soft smile. "My mother taught me. She said a man who cannot feed his family cannot lead one." Something in the way he said it made heat rise in my throat. We ate pasta and grilled chicken in the warm light of the dining room. The meal was simple but tasted better than anything I'd had in months. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It felt peaceful, but peace never lasted long around him. "Your ex-husband has a temper," Vincent said calmly as he set his wineglass aside. "It's getting worse." I swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" He pushed a tablet across the table. On it was security footage. David pacing outside my building, checking his phone, talking to someone in a dark car. He looked frantic, desperate, angry. "He's not stalking you because he wants you back," Vincent said. "He's stalking you because he lost control of you." My hands trembled under the table. "I don't want him around Emma," I whispered. "You won't have to worry about that," Vincent said softly. When Emma returned 2 days later, she ran straight into my arms, hugging me with her whole little body. Vincent stood nearby, watching quietly as we reunited. "Is this your friend?" she asked shyly, peeking up at him from behind my leg. Vincent crouched down so he was at her height. "I'm Vincent." "It's very nice to meet you, Emma." She studied him with curious eyes. "Do you have any cartoons?" His lips curved. "We have a theater room." Emma gasped like she'd just been handed the moon. She grabbed Vincent's hand and pulled him down the hallway without hesitation. And Vincent, he let her. He followed her like it was the most natural thing in the world. That night, after Emma fell asleep on a pile of blankets in the theater room, I stood in the doorway, watching Vincent gently carry her to the guest room. He tucked her in with such careful hands it made my chest ache. He turned and caught me staring. "What?" he asked quietly. "Nothing," I said, looking away. "Just, thank you." He stepped closer until he stood right in front of me. His voice lowered, warm and deep. "You don't need to thank me for caring about you and your daughter." The words hit me harder than expected. My breath caught. He noticed. "Lily," he said softly, "you don't have to be afraid of needing someone again." I should have stepped back. I didn't. Instead, I whispered, "I'm more afraid of what needing you could mean." His jaw tightened. His eyes flicked down to my lips before he looked away. "You should get some rest," he said in a low voice. "The world around us is changing fast." His warning didn't make sense until the next morning. A knock sounded sharply at the penthouse door. Vincent opened it, and a man handed him a stack of papers. I recognized the top sheet immediately. My name. My ex-husband's name. A court stamp. Custody petition. Filed by David. Full custody of Emma. My breath stopped. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. "He can't take her!" I choked out. "He can't!" "He won't," Vincent said, his voice calm and dark. "I'll make sure of it." "He's saying I'm unstable," I whispered as my eyes scanned the papers. "That I'm living an immoral life. That Emma is exposed to danger." "Danger like me," Vincent said quietly. I looked up at him, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Not fear for himself, fear for us. Fear of losing us. He placed a hand on my arm, steady and warm. "Lily, I can fix this. But you need to understand something before we go any further." My pulse raced. "What?" His gaze held mine, unmoving. "Your ex-husband isn't acting alone. Someone is helping him. Someone who wants access to me through you." The room felt like it tilted. "You mean—" "Yes," Vincent said. Someone in my world is using him to get to me. I stared at him, my heart heavy with a truth I had avoided for too long. Vincent, what exactly is your world? He exhaled slowly. I told you I manage businesses. That's true, but it's not the full truth. Quote, he took a step closer, his voice lowered. My family runs operations across the city. We have for generations. Legal and otherwise. Cold air seemed to settle on my skin. So you really are a Mafia heir, he finished. And one day, the boss. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Lily, I didn't plan on you walking into my life. But now that you're here, I won't let anyone touch you, or Emma. I should have walked away. I should have taken Emma and run. But instead, with my heart pounding and my world shifting beneath my feet, I whispered the question I already knew the answer to. Am I in danger because of you? Vincent didn't lie. Yes. And is Emma? His eyes darkened with something fierce. Never. I will die before I allow that. My next breath came out shaky. Then what happens now? Vincent stepped closer, his voice a low vow. Now, Lily, you decide if you trust me enough to stay. I didn't know yet that my answer would change every part of my life. And his. I didn't give Vincent an answer right away. I couldn't. My world had tilted, cracked, reshaped itself into something strange and dangerous. I needed time to breathe, to think, to understand what loving a man like Vincent Moretti could cost me, and Emma. But time was the one thing we didn't have. The next evening, Vincent returned to the penthouse with a tension in his shoulders I hadn't seen before. He loosened his tie and ran a hand through his hair, his jaw tight and eyes darker than usual. What happened? I asked, stepping closer. He exhaled slowly. Your ex-husband met with people who want information about my movements. He thinks they're helping him win custody. They're using him to get to me. My stomach twisted. David doesn't know who you are. No, Vincent said, but the men he's talking to do. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. For the first time, he looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. Like he'd been carrying a weight for years and suddenly felt the strain. What does this mean for us? I whispered. He lifted his head, and something raw flickered in his eyes. It means I can't keep you here anymore. It's not secure enough. I'm taking you and Emma out of the city tonight. A sharp breath rushed out of me. Vincent, I can't just disappear. I have a job, a life. Emma has school. You can work remotely, he said quietly. Emma can take classes online. This is temporary, Lily. Until it's safe. Safe from who? I demanded, voice cracking. Safe from my ex? Your enemies, your world, all of it? Quote. Vincent stepped closer, cupping my face gently like I was something fragile. Safe from anyone who sees you as a way to reach me. His voice softened. Lily, people in my world don't use weaknesses. They use attachments. And you and Emma, you're the most important attachments I have. My breath stuck in my throat, not because of fear. Because of what he was admitting without saying the words. I didn't ask for this, I whispered. I know, he said, his thumb stroking my cheek. But I'm asking you to trust me, just long enough to keep you safe. Against every instinct, I nodded. Hours later, we were on a private plane heading to Sicily. Emma slept curled up beside me with her stuffed rabbit. Vincent sat across from us, his eyes moving between the window and the two of us, like he couldn't relax until we were far from danger. When we arrived at the Moretti family villa, it felt like stepping into another world. Olive trees, endless sky, stone walls covered in sun and history. But even in the beauty, there was tension. Watchful eyes, guards who stepped aside when Vincent passed, rooms reinforced with security doors. Whispered conversations that stopped when I walked by. His father, Antonio, was already sick, lying in bed with tubes and monitors. He still studied me with sharp eyes when Vincent introduced us. He spoke in Italian, and Vincent translated. He wants to know if you understand what being with me means. A lump formed in my throat. I'm trying, I said softly. Over the next days, I learned more than I wanted to. Not from Vincent directly, from the world around him. The way men lowered their voices when he entered a room. The way they waited for him to speak before they did. The way fear and respect mingled in their eyes. Emma, on the other hand, flourished. She learned Italian words from house staff, played in sunlit courtyards, begged Vincent to push her on the swing in the garden. And he always did. Even on days when he came home late and tired, he would drop everything the moment Emma smiled at him. Watching him with her made something inside me shift, something deep and irreversible. One night, after Emma fell asleep, Vincent and I sat on the beach under the stars. The waves brushed the sand, calm and warm. His voice was low when he finally spoke. "I have arranged everything for you," he said. "If you want to leave, I can get you out of the country under a new identity. A clean slate. A life David will never reach. A life my world will never touch." My chest tightened painfully. "Why are you telling me this?" Quote, "Because I love you," he said quietly, "and love is dangerous in my world. I won't trap you in it." My breath caught. I wasn't ready for those words. Not from a man like him. Not with the weight behind them. "Vincent," I whispered. "You don't have to say it back," he said. "Just choose the life you want, even if it's not with me." His voice cracked slightly on the last word, and it shook something loose inside me. I turned toward him. "I don't want a new identity. I don't want to disappear. And I definitely don't want to spend the rest of my life running." His eyes lifted to mine, questioning. "I want this," I said. "I want you. I want the man who reads Emma bedtime stories, the man who held my hand when I cried, the man who kissed me like I wasn't broken." His breath stopped. "I choose you, Vincent," I whispered, "whatever that means." He closed his eyes like he was absorbing the words, letting them settle into the parts of himself he kept hidden from the world. When he finally kissed me, it wasn't like the first time. It wasn't to make someone jealous. It wasn't to convince a room. It was real, deep, claiming, full of the future neither of us had dared to imagine. The next morning, Antonio Moretti passed away, and everything changed. Vincent became the head of the Moretti family. The power, the danger, the responsibility, all of it landed on his shoulders overnight, and I stood beside him. Months later, after the turmoil settled and New York grew safe again, we moved into a brownstone in Brooklyn, a real home. A place with sunlight in the kitchen and a garden where Emma planted flowers. A year after that, on the terrace of the Sicilian villa, with the sea glowing behind us, Vincent married me. Emma spread flower petals in her little dress, and when Vincent spoke his vows, his voice broke, just for a moment, when he said my name. Later, as we danced under warm lights and soft music, I looked up at him and said, "When I kissed you that night at the bar, I had no idea who you were." He smiled, brushing his thumb along my jaw. "And yet," he murmured, "you still became my entire world." I rested my head against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "I wasn't trying to meet anyone that night," I said. He kissed the top of my head. "Some stories," he whispered, "begin exactly where they're meant to. We never returned to the lives we had before. We built something new, something fierce, something ours, a love born from danger, yet strong enough to survive anything, and I have never looked back."